Welcome in. How are we on a Thursday? I don't know what day this feels like. It doesn't feel like a day of the week to me. It doesn't feel like a Friday. Doesn't feel like a Monday. Doesn't feel like a Sunday. I don't know what it feels like. It's one of those days where you like, I'm sure most of your jobs, you do this every day at work, but I work at the radio station. So, it's not crazy for us 24/7 like it is in most of your jobs. But it's been crazy for us, for me specifically, nonstop here the last couple of days. So I am completely confused on what is going on. I do know, however, that there is a Packer Commanders game tonight. That I do know. And I know it's at Lambeau Field. We will talk with JP Finlay of NBC4 Sports and 106.7 The Fan in D.C. He's actually in Green Bay covering the game. He'll join us coming up today at 2:40. Looking forward to that. Tim Dillard with his normal Thursday spot at 3:20. That'll be your Brewers fix for the day. FanDuel Sports Network Wisconsin Brewers analyst will join us coming up at 3:20 on the Brewers off day. Very nice of him to join us there. Charlie Sound today as well. Korean Gold update. Trying to book a guest there for that. Somebody will be at Lambeau. And if you missed the Chris Gizzy interview that happened earlier today on the Mason Crosby show, him and Tommy, boy, oh boy, did you miss it. Because Chris Gizzy was mainly a special teams player that was the one kind of holding the flag and leading them out on 9/11, or the first game after 9/11, I should say, against Washington. And there was a great story on Gizzy, and Mason Crosby side was like, well, see him come on our show. And he was kind enough to come on. So I want to replay that for you, especially it's the 9/11 today and all of that. And definitely want to make sure we replay that so you have a chance to hear that. So that'll be coming up at 4:20. But it is Green and Gold Thursday, I guess you would call it, right? Green and Gold Thursday. And we are broadcasting live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. So let's do what we always do, and we will do throughout the entire season. Confident, concerned, curious about this Green Bay Packers team heading into tonight's game against Washington, again, at Lambeau Field. So how this works is quite simple. You tell us, what are you confident in about the Packers? What are you concerned about tonight about the Packers? And what are you curious to see involving the Packers coming up this evening? Nicolay Law Fan Talk, text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Sound off with a recorded voice message on the Odyssey app, Facebook, and Twitter at The Fan Milwaukee. All right, so let's start off with confident. What are you most confident in with the Green Bay Packers going into tonight's game? I'll start. I'm most confident in the fact that Micah Parsons will continue his reign of terror on the Commanders, and I'll say he gets 2 sacks tonight in the game against the Commanders. He averaged 2 sacks last year in their 2 games against them. I'll say that continues tonight, and it may not be in the most conventional of ways he gets them, because I think Jeff Hafley will start moving him more than he did last game, so he may be coming from different perspectives than Daniels has seen him previously, maybe. And I think that's how that works out. So that's what I'm most confident in. Couple of sacks out of Micah Parsons, and everybody gets even more juiced and excited watching this thing.
I like that. I think my confidence kind of ties into that a little bit, because I think this could come from a Micah Parsons. I'm confident that the Packers get at least 1 turnover tonight again and have 2 straight games with a turnover. I think it could be Evan Williams again. The way he started off last season was extremely high and kind of on this momentum where he is just feeling himself until he got hurt and kind of reset that momentum. So if he had to pick week 1, I think he's going to be looking for a pick week 2. I think Micah Parsons, if he does go out there and does your confident where he has 2 sacks in this game, there's a chance for a forced fumble in that 2 sacks. And this Packers defense can continue to show that they are a top 5, maybe even a top 3 defense in the league, like people saw in week 1.
The other part about this too is this whole whiteout aspect of tonight's game. I know I'm the negative guy. How stupid is this? It is September. We're doing a whiteout game in September.
You're not confident that's going to change the momentum, Sparky?
No, T-shirts are stupid to begin with. You know how I feel about the NBA and MLB doing this. So I'm not even talking about that aspect. But if you're going to do the whiteout game, why wouldn't you do the whiteout game in November or December? I'll answer that for you, because I've seen a lot of people complaining about it. Do you think everybody's going to be wearing only T-shirts in November or December? Or do you think people are going to be wearing their bundled up winter jackets that they're not going to want to try and stretch a T-shirt over? That is why the whiteout game is going on tonight. because once it gets cold, nobody is stretching a shirt over a jacket. Right now, it's beautiful weather. They got lucky with the weather a little bit, right? So everybody will be fine throwing a shirt on over whatever shirt they're wearing going into this thing, or at least coming in with a white shirt. I don't think they're even giving them shirts, are they? They're just asking everybody to wear white.
Yep.
See, now again, the Packers, they're poor. They really are always
they're
kind of
community run. They don't have the owner behind them.
Well, I went to Pick and Save the other day. They had a can out there. They were asking for money for the Packers. So I know they don't have a lot of money, but if it was an organization that did have a lot of money, you would have thought they would have just had everybody have white shirts with like a Packer G, like in white and gray or whatever, right across the front. The only time you'd be able to get those shirts is if you were at the game today. They'd be collector items. Everybody would put on the same shirt, and everybody would be guaranteed to look the way you want it to look. But instead of spending money, because again, they must be poor, now we're going to rely on everybody to show up. And I will be shocked if everybody shows up wearing white. I'll be absolutely shocked.
See, this is the type of stuff that the board of directors should have their fingers in. Not in trades and stuff like that, but in whether or not there's t-shirts for the fans when they come through the door. If you want to have a promotion like this, where you want everybody to wear white, where you want to show off your brand new all white uniforms, yeah, go for it. That's fine. But also then promote it better. Just in case you're wondering, the Packers are not poor. It's still $1 billion valued franchise.
Oh, really?
They
they
still have
much?
money. No, they still
really.
They still have some money.
Stuff
there.
I learned from Charlie using on this show is amazing.
Somebody might have believed you out there, Sparky.
Like if it was the Brewers, I guess I'd listen to that.
Still no, though.
But even it was them. They have all these other things, and you could have
promotion every other day there.
And you could have sponsored it.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been like a big snow removal company or somebody, or a salt company that makes salt for snow. Like anybody, you could have sponsored the shirts, handed out the shirts, guaranteed everybody looked the way you wanted it to look, and called it a day.
Easy. Would have been
white
simple.
knit gloves. Could have done that too. Had them all wearing white knit gloves.
Hats.
Knit hats. Yes. But again, who are we? We just work in radio. All right. That's what we're confident in. What are we concerned about going into this game? Nicolay Law Fan Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250, Facebook and Twitter at The Fan Milwaukee. Join the Dugout Chat, as I already see people are joining the Dugout Chat as well. Alan says, do this radio broadcast on Twitch too, or does this? I think he meant does, right, Alan?
Yeah.
Alan, no, we are not on Twitch yet. However, I will tell you that it will be coming soon. We made the decision to try to do YouTube as best as possible. And once we are comfortable with how this looks and how we are going, then I think, yes, you will see us on Twitch eventually. But this thing is only 2.5 months old.
We're getting there.
It's not like we've been doing this for 3 years and, can't do anything. So, again, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff with YouTube. If you're watching shorts, videos, stream all of our shows on YouTube as well. Search The Fan Milwaukee. Again, The Fan Milwaukee on YouTube. All right. What are you concerned about, Charlie?
I'm concerned we're going to have to hear another Darian Kennard interview after this game because he's probably going to have to start for Zach Tom. Reports from Jason B. Hirschhorn of the Leap newsletter was saying that it's not looking likely that Aaron Banks and Zach Tom are going to be playing in this game.
Neither of them?
Yeah, that's what it's looking like right now. They're still listed as questionable. There's still going to be game time decisions, so things can change from now up until game time. But having Jordan Morgan and Darian Kennard out there automatically makes that offensive line a little bit weaker at this point in the season. You'd like to see these guys as that starting five unit gel together a little bit more, especially since both Tom and Banks seem like they could play. I guess they're not injured enough where it's completely off the field. So it's a little worrisome that you have to see these guys out here and you're seeing guys already take these rests. The other thing is it's a short week, so don't get too worried about it.
Okay, so I don't know how confident I really am in Kennard. I was listening to Andy Herman on the Pack a Day radio show this morning, and he said he's good with Jordan Morgan. Yeah, I'm not there yet.
Jordan Morgan outplayed Rasheed Walker.
I'm not there yet. Okay, I will see. I'm not there. So now you get Kennard or Escalade out there at right tackle. I'm assuming he'll be the veteran at right tackle in Kennard. Can you imagine if they went Jordan Morgan there and then slid Escalade inside to play guard? And then it's Walker, Escalade, Jenkins, Ryan, and Morgan at right tackle?
I think I'd just rather have Kennard because of the experience.
Because he's a vet, right.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly why he will get that spot out there at right tackle. But again, once the game starts, And whether or not somebody is doing well or not doing well will very well determine whether or not everybody stays in their case. I'm not as worried about that because even if Kennard stinks, at least Love will see where the pressure is coming from, right? At least it's not Rasheed Walker and we don't have a left tackle, and I'm concerned there. So I'm not concerned all that much about the offensive line. I'll tell you what I am concerned about going into this game, and that is the ability to make plays off script. And that is something that Jaden Daniels does as well as anybody in the National Football League. Plays break down, he rolls right, finds some dude 30 yards downfield, and a DB running behind him and hits him in stride as the guy runs out of bounds on the sidelines or something. That's where my concern is. My concern is Micah Parsons comes blowing it off his blind side. He sees him. He ain't catching me. Off he goes running. Micah's in hot pursuit, and he throws 15 yards for a first down, and the drive extends. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about containing him in the pocket and not letting him get outside of the pocket. Don't let him get out on the edges and run and be able to create and throw or run upfield. Keep him in the pocket, keep him in front of you, try and make him a pocket quarterback. Now, will they be able to do that or not? I don't know, but that is my concern. You don't need Jaden Daniels, throwing for like 100 yards in broken plays and rushing for 50 or 60 yards on top of that. And I think that's a very possible big reality that could happen in this game.
I think it's definitely possible, and I can see why that would be a concern for this game specifically. But Packers fans, don't let that be a concern for you for the rest of the season as well, if it is a concern for this week. Again, you're playing with a lot of guys that are still trying to gel together on this defense, especially with a new leader in a Micah Parsons. And if Jaden Daniels, a very athletic quarterback who gets out of the pocket on almost everybody, Micah Parsons talked about it yesterday that he's not always going to be as aggressive in a game like this because Jaden Daniels has that ability to make big plays with his legs. That if for some reason things do break down a little bit, that, yeah, it may be cause for concern in this game, but you need to make sure that you trust in Jeff Hafley as well as the defensive coordinator and that they'll get it figured out moving forward on the season.
Will you become frustrated if they're not bringing additional more than 4 guys and the Washington Commanders are dinking and dunking their way down the field and we're playing someone and playing off of everybody? Are you going to start being like, oh, here we go again? I watched this last year when we watched an athletic quarterback play against the Packers, because that's what it was. He didn't start blitzing guys until like the fourth quarter last year against these athletic guys. That's when he decided, to hell with this, now I'm coming. And a lot of times on the post-game show, me and Tommy Worship would be like, couldn't have done that in the first half, started this little process a little bit earlier, and he really did start getting more aggressive blitzing kind of everybody until later in the year.
I think part of the problem with last season is that we knew that front seven wasn't going to get that pressure on their own. So it was really frustrating when you weren't seeing him bring 5 guys or 6 guys in any certain pressure because we knew what to expect from that front 4, that defensive line. This year, I have a lot more faith in that defense line, again, solely because Micah Parsons is in that group. And you saw the effect that had on a Lucas Van Ness, on a Rashawn Gary in that last game. So, no, immediately I'm not going to be frustrated if they're dinking and dunking right away because I feel like that would be more the game plan of Washington to get the ball out quickly so that you don't get that pressure from a Micah Parsons or a Rashawn Gary. So, in a game like this, I'll give it a little bit more time before I get frustrated. I think last year it was happening late in the season, and it wasn't just athletic quarterbacks. They were doing that in the first half of games versus like Sam Darnold and Jared Goff in that first Lions game. You can't do that with those guys. In this game, it's a different scenario with a much more athletic player that you do have to be more cautious of.
Yeah, and, that's the other thing, too, about this when we talk about the Micah Parsons effect. With their front 4 last year, Kenny Clark tried, but you really couldn't get home with your front 4 regularly. Now with Micah Parsons, Kenny Clark, and if Van Ness is inside with, say, Devontae Wyatt, you do have a chance to still get home and apply some pressure to Jaden Daniels. We're only rushing 4. So this may be a situation where Hafley starts out of the game and goes, all right, gentlemen, here we go. Let's see how y'all do. And if y'all can't figure this out, then I will provide help. But let's test the waters and see how we do against their offensive line. And let's see if Jaden Daniels can pick us apart and not make a mistake.
I think the other thing you can try to do is blitz early. Try to get in his head early. Try to maybe give him a little bit of false confidence early and then completely bring it back and let Micah Parsons do what he does. Get in the offensive tackles' heads and make them think that Micah is going to be jumping inside every single time. And then all of a sudden let him pass rush on the outside and see what the tackles do in that situation. I think you go about it either way. Just you have to try something first. And I think you have to be prepared to switch that game plan later on in that game.
Here's Charlie using C. Sparky Fifer with you, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, asking you, what are you most confident in? What are you most concerned about? And what are you most curious about heading into this football game against the Washington Commanders tonight? And do not forget that we are going to have the Green Bay Football postgame show tonight, immediately following the game here on The Fan. We'll be streaming it on YouTube. Listen to us on your Odyssey app. Stream there too. Tommy Wirtz and myself tonight. Ryan Wood joins us on every postgame show. The beat writer for the Green Bay Packers for the Green Bay Press Gazette. Plus, we'll get sound from the locker room that Ryan Wood gets us. Plus, we'll have Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love. So a lot of fun stuff tonight. And obviously, the most important thing, your calls, your tweets, your interaction on YouTube, all of that. Because the postgame shows are fun, me and Tommy, but more interaction we get, the more fun it is. I'd rather talk to you than Tommy, if we're being honest. Right? Was that mean? But I mean, I think that's true.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Tommy would
I talk to Tommy off the air all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Him and I text all the time.
Tommy talks on the station all the time. Even he agrees that he may talk too much.
Yeah, he talks on the station a lot. Yeah. So we'll be on tonight immediately following that game. So looking forward to that tonight. Make sure to make the switch back here to The Fan after that game is over. Now it's time to get to curious. What are you curious about going into this football game for the Green Bay Packers? I'll start here on the curious part of things. I'm curious to see against this Commanders defense that they have, what the game plan is going to be. Because this first game, a lot of two tight end sets, that was the game plan. Matt LaFleur said during the week that is going to change week to week based on opponent. Meaning, don't read into this being our identity. They'll have to figure us out week to week as far as how we're going to line up. So will you see them spread out Washington with 3 and 4 wide receiver sets, not see Fitzpatrick, not see Musgrave, see a lot of Tucker Kraft, but now all of a sudden, Golden, Dobbs, Wicks, and Reed are getting way more snaps than they did last week and trying to take advantage of the Commanders' defense that way. I think there is a possibility you may see this offense go that way coming up and away maybe from two tight end sets tonight. I could be wrong. This is a guess, but I think this might be the way they plan to attack the Commanders.
I think if you're down your right tackle and you're starting left guard, you kind of have to stay in those two tight end sets. I think that with the addition of two backup and one of them being a younger player that you still don't really have that confidence in to be put into that starting offensive unit, you would want that extra security blanket of having your two tight ends in line with the offensive line and maybe still going with this play action style offense that we have been talking about all season.
Yep.
I think that's actually what I'm more curious of, is that with two backup offensive linemen in, how aggressive running the ball are they going to be in this game? Or are we going to see a lot more of that play action pass come out in a game like this, where we do see a Tucker Kraft used a little bit more than we saw him last game, where you do see a Luke Musgrave used a little bit more than we saw last game? But maybe it's big play opportunities for a Matthew Golden or a Romeo Dobbs. I want to see if they're consistent with their approach going into a game like this, where the defenses aren't the same as you saw last week, and you're missing a few key players on that offensive line.
You know, that's the other thing too, and I guess I didn't think about it, was how does the offensive line change this game plan? I would think if you're Matt LaFleur, those guys both go down on Sunday, and like you heard it, who was it? Tuesday, I think they were saying was like Thursday for them at that point. So everything got fast forwarded. You would think Sunday night after that game, Monday morning, maybe you wait till Matt LaFleur is talking to the trainers. Give me odds on Tom and Banks playing. Just give me odds. Like, not even odds, percentages, right? 20% chance Zach Tom plays. 25% chance Aaron Banks plays. All right, good. So if that's the case, then I'm gonna build this game plan thinking they're not going to be there. I'm going to go with these replacements. The only way it doesn't affect game plan is if you are that sold that the two guys going in there are as good as the guys that you're taking out. And I don't think any head coach can say that necessarily in most situations, right? That's normally not how this works. The Banks situation is far more concerning to me than the Zach Tom situation, because Banks has been hurt all through training camp and everything else. And now here you are again. Now it's not his back, so that's good. The Tom one is concerning to me because that's an oblique. And we know from history, our history of sports, watching basketball, baseball, and football, oblique injuries can linger throughout an entire season, Charlie, as can back injuries.
They can linger, but you can also play through them. And I think that's kind of where
How does it
this
affect the lineman?
I think with alignment, a lot of the time, so when I injured my shoulder, it was kind of the same thing where you're so much more focused on getting that strength through your legs and staying put where you are that you can kind of play through a more upper body style injury because you're not really doing anything but punching as an offensive lineman with your arms. You're not reaching, you're not grabbing, and if you're doing that, you're playing the position wrong. So I think it's to the point where if you are doing everything completely sound to your technique, then you should be okay. The problem is that's not how it goes ever in any kind of game. There are going to be moments where your arm is going to reach out. There are going to be moments where a defensive lineman is going to hit your shoulder or kind of hit you from behind a little bit, and you're going to feel that pain. And it's going to be a little bit debilitating for a moment, but also you kind of have to figure out how to play through that because you already said you were going to play through it. And if you come out of a game at this point, it's a little frustrating to you and to your coaching staff that that's what happened.
This is the other part about this that I think also kind of needs to be discussed a little bit, which is the adjustments that then are going to be made in this game. We talked about this yesterday as far as having one game plan for the first half, another game plan for the second half. But when you talk about making adjustments during the game, I think LaFleur does a nice job with that, making the adjustment out of halftime to the second half. But depending on how that offensive line is playing, you may not have the affordability to maybe wait till halftime to make an adjustment if one of those guys are struggling. This Commanders defense is legit, y'all. I don't know how much you respect the Commanders defense as a Packer fan, but they are legit. Like, this is not going to be an easy game, I don't think, for this Packers offense to move the football. Maybe I'll be wrong. I forgot who said it. It's Adam Schefter. Said, by all indications, this is supposed to be a high-scoring game tonight. I don't know, man. I struggle. We'll make our predictions and stuff coming up at 4:40, but I struggle to see this as a high-scoring game, Charlie.
I don't know if I do. I think that both these teams are very well coached. I think both of them will come into this game with a very good game plan for the other team. I think Washington, more so than most other teams in the NFL, knows how to handle Micah Parsons a little better. Even if they did give up 2.5 sacks to him last season, Washington was still the team that ended up farther in the playoffs. So I think that says a lot about who they are and how their coaching staff is and what they're willing to give up in order to gain in certain games. And I think Matt LaFleur is somebody who comes into games with a really good game plan. If he feels like that game plan is going well, he keeps feeding off of that. The problem is if one of these teams can get into the head of the other one, then that's where I think you see the scoring go down a little bit. But I expect a high scoring first half, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and that's for me something where I struggle, because anytime you're coming on a Thursday night game and you're both coming off of 4 days playing ago, I don't think anybody is completely healed. And I know it's early in the season, but I bet you some of these guys are probably still a little bit sore from the last game a little bit. You don't have as much time to rest and relax and go. The mental toll of having to get right back into game planning right away as well. Those might seem like minute things, but I think that could be something to watch too. That's why if I was looking at this game, if this halftime score is like 13-10, 10-6, something like that, either way, whoever has the lead, I don't think I'd be all that surprised if it ended up being more of a low scoring game at the end of the day. The other thing is, how much are the Packers going to respect the ground game for the Commanders in this game, right? If it's me, I don't worry about it. If it's me, I worry about Jaden Daniels. Don't let him get out and beat you on the edges, like I said earlier. I'm not concerned about Eckler and whoever else that got back there at running back. I'm more concerned about stopping Jaden Daniels. Take a quick time out, come back on the other side. I'm going to talk about Jordan Love. A great piece by Rob Demovsky today on ESPN talking about Jordan Love and where he is, right, as a player in his 6 years and how he took another step forward this year, according to Matt LaFleur. This goes all the way back to the first day of training camp. We'll talk about Jordan Love, his progression, where he's at, 6 years in the league, third year as a starter, and how would you grade him? That's straight ahead. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM at 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Time for your fan weather forecast. 70 degrees, fair skies right now, low of 56 tonight. Welcome back. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy. See Sparky Fifer here. Charlie using over there. Hey, look at here. Cornelius in the dugout chat on YouTube. See Cornelius all the time on Twitter. Always interacting with everybody like the good dude that he is. What does Cornelius have to say in the dugout chat on YouTube?
He says, yep, same Sparky, and Keyshawn Nixon makes me nervous. I think he's responding to your concerns over at the end of the hour there segment.
Look, we talked about this yesterday, if you missed it, with Easton Butler, who was with the Packer Report. I had asked him, I said, hey, man, are they still active, trying to fill a hole? Maybe you say cornerback? And he started laughing and said, hey, man, I can't say any names. I can't say nothing. But, yeah, they're still maybe trying to adjust and fix that position by maybe trying to get somebody else. That made me very happy to hear because I haven't really heard much about them still being aggressive in the market after they got Micah Parsons. He says they are. He also said that there's offers on the table for Romeo Doubs, but he doesn't think they'll move Romeo Doubs, if they're going to move Romeo Doubs, until after Christian Watson returns in October, which obviously makes sense. Just remember, Cornelius, at the end of last year, what did Keyshawn Nixon say on his way out the door? Hey, man, I don't really want to play special teams, man. I want to be CB1. I think I can be CB1. That's what I want to be. That's what that dude said. And then Jair got to step in, and guess what? He got his wish. He's now CB1. So, for my take on this is it's put up or shut up time. Like, you better play like CB1 here. Otherwise, that ain't going to last very long. The problem is they don't have any depth behind Keyshawn Nixon to where there's a threat for somebody to take his gig right now. They haven't really addressed it. So it's him, it's Carrington Valentine. Now Hobbs is that guy. And once he's ready to play, now it's Hobbs and Nixon. Then you're talking about Valentine potentially challenging him for that starting role on the outside because Bullard, as we saw, is probably going to be that nickelback, right? And maybe he'll rotate in at safety depending on the package, but that's kind of Javon Bullard's role. So Keyshawn Nixon needs to play well because otherwise they may go trade for somebody else to bring in here if they don't feel like he's doing the job.
Which I don't blame them. I felt like that was something they should have done even after they signed Nate Hobbs, is still go and try to improve that defensive back room. The only problem is a lot of the best free agents that were out there were all really veteran and really not in the Packers timeline that I think they had here for this team. And yes, adding one player may help out a little bit, but that was before you trade for Micah Parsons when you didn't feel like this team could be immediate Super Bowl contenders. Now you trade for Micah Parsons and you're sitting at a point where, you know what? Yeah, Stephon Gilmore may actually help out this defense. You know what? Some of these older players, bringing Patrick Peterson out of retirement, something like that could help out this team. And it could also mean that a guy like Romeo Doubs, some of these other wide receivers that are in this stacked wide receiver room could be moved for another young cornerback to fill into that spot.
That's right. And what you want is, and again, as a player, you'd like to feel comfy and not like your job is in any danger as a player. But as a coach or as a GM, you want your players to kind of feel on edge. Like, you're not completely safe. Yeah, it's yours. But if you don't do your job, we will find somebody to do your job for you. Who was it? The Jets? They cut Gibson because he fumbled the football in week 1. You're out of here. That dude's been in the league for a minute now. It ain't like he's some young guy. They cut that dude after week 1, Charlie.
Kickers go through that basically every week of their NFL career. Yeah, exactly.
With the Niners.
You miss 2 kicks. You have one bad day. Sorry, your job's done. Like, you go find a different team. Go to the CFL and try to get back to the NFL at some point here. I mean, that's part of the reality of making that much money and being tied to these franchises in that way, is that your job is never safe. No matter who you are, there's always going to be some kind of reason that a team will get rid of you if you've done something wrong or do something wrong on the field. So you have to fight for your job every day, realistically.
Correct. And at the end of the day, there has to be a reasonable threat, though, that they're going to do something. For so long, this Packers organization has never really made a reasonable threat that anybody was going to lose their job. Pretty much, if you started the season at that spot, you're probably going to be there all year because there was never any real threat. How many times can you remember anybody that was in a significant role getting cut during the season or getting benched to the point where he was hardly ever on the field anymore from the start of the season to the end of the season? Like, That simply does not happen. In Major League Baseball, you could be in the rotation and in AAA by the end of the year and be gone. See Tobias Myers. I mean, how quickly that changed from 1 year to the next of how he got into a doghouse. That is what baseball can do. Football doesn't have that luxury because they don't got a farm system. So it's either bench him and not play him for however much he's making, or you cut him and let somebody else get him.
Well, and the other big difference between the MLB and the NFL is that you have 17 games to get through as an MLB player, and that's still not even a portion of the season they can move on from you. 17 games is the entire NFL season. So it's not really, I guess, equal in the way that you evaluate players over a certain period of time. I think in football, you have to give them that more time because you're just not playing as much. You're not getting the same kind of sample size that you are in baseball.
Here's Charlie Usen, C. Sparky Fifer with you. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from the 1250 AM, 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I come back to you. The question is this: how would you grade Jordan Love's progression so far after 6 years in the league and in his third year as a starter? We don't have a lot of time because we have to get JP Finlay here in like 3 or 4 minutes. If you have not read the Rob Demoski piece on ESPN, I'd say go read it. It really is a cool perspective from Calhoun, his quarterbacks coach, private quarterback coach in the offseason, LaFleur's comments in there as well, talking about how he progressed from year one to now, how that first practice and training camp, LaFleur comes in, tells everybody he's got to tell him, tells him what the rest of the day's schedule is, and then normally he'll say, all right, you, whoever, break it down, end it, and then gets out of the huddle. Apparently this year he didn't say nothing. He got done with the schedule, walked out of the huddle, and he wanted to see what was going to happen. Who was going to step up and say something? And he goes, Jordan took it. Didn't tell him to. He took it on his own, and he's like, okay, there we go. That's what I want to see. And that was that leadership piece that LaFleur has been talking about since the end of year one, where he wants him to be more vocal. He wants him to be out in front and not be the shy guy, letting everybody else, be the guys that are talking.
From a team's perspective, from a head coach's perspective, that's really cool to see. That's something you want to see your young quarterback take that next step with. Now, from a fan's perspective, that's a cool story. When is it going to show up on the field? When is he going to take that next step as a physical player, not just as a leader?
You're a jerk. All right, coming up next, JP Finlay, NBC 4 Sports in D.C. and with 106.7 The Fan in D.C. as well. He is in Green Bay covering this game for both. We'll talk to him straight ahead. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's here on The Fan. And speaking of Wendy's, mornings can all start to feel the same. So if you're looking for a fresh wake-up call, look no further than Wendy's Breakfast. Try a breakfast Baconator with fresh cracked eggs, crispy bacon, a grilled sausage breakfast burrito, or maybe even a honey buddy. Don't even think about sleeping on Wendy's seasoned potatoes in English muffin sandwiches. Doesn't matter what you go for, it's gonna change your life. Okay, well, it'll at least freshen up your morning. Ready for a fresh wake-up call? It's gotta be Wendy's. Welcome in. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy C. Sparky Fifer with you. Hope all is well on this Thursday. Green and Gold Thursdays. We get ready for Packers Commanders tonight. Immediately after that game is done, you make the switch back here to the Fan for the Green Bay football post-game show. Myself, we'll have Tommy Wirtz here with me. Ryan Wood, Packers beat writer for the Green Bay Press-Gazette. He's on every post-game show as well. Gets on from inside the locker room. Here from Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love. Take your calls, your tweets. And, of course, that chat on YouTube, the Dugout chat, always going strong. Stream all of our shows. Check them out on YouTube. Search The Fan Milwaukee. Joining us now is JP Finlay from NBC4 Sports and 106.7 The Fan in D.C. Joins us on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. JP, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, so what do you think? What do you think of Green Bay? What do you think of Titletown? What do you think of Lambeau? Tell me.
Oh, man, I've been up here a handful of times, and I've always enjoyed it. Lambeau's iconic. You walk down that tunnel and see that old, brick kind of, I don't know, whatever you step over and the plaque there. It's such a cool spot. And it's interesting because I don't know the exact dates, right? But having covered games here and at Soldier Field, I imagine they're built relatively similar to one another. And Green Bay, with all the renovations and additions, has kept the entire character of this place.
Yep.
And in Soldier Field, they just completely bastardized and made it seem like two different places. So I always enjoy coming here. I've never gotten to stay in Green Bay. I've stayed in Milwaukee and Sheboygan and Appleton a few times, but I got to stay in Green Bay for this one, which was kind of a unique experience too. So cool trip, ready for the game.
That's awesome. Let's talk about this game tonight. I had said earlier when we started the show about we do this confident, concerned, and curious. Were you confident about the Packers, concerned about the Packers, and were you curious about to see in the game for the Packers? And my concern is making sure to kind of contain Jaden Daniels as much as possible, not letting him get to the edges to make plays or get to the edges to run upfield for 15 or 20 yards. I think that's my biggest concern coming into this game from a Packers defensive perspective. Do you think that's accurate, or do you think it should be somewhere else?
I think that's pretty fair. Not a lot of teams have figured out a way to contain this young quarterback. I know the Packers had a ton of success last week against the Lions, but I think there's a pretty big and that Lions rushing attack was great last year, certainly.
Yeah.
And Gibbs is great, and Montgomery's really good and a tough runner. But Jared Goff is a 0 out of 10 threat to run the ball at all. So it's a very different rushing attack you're taking on this week, both in design runs for Jaden and in just his ability to scramble. And one of the things that I'm not sure folks realize with Jaden's legs is it really limits the team's ability to play man-to-man on the outside.
Yep.
Because if Jaden sees that corner running downfield with his back to him, that's an easy first down with his legs. So it makes an impact beyond just the run game. And I think that's a fair concern for sure.
JP, last year with Jeff Hafley as defensive coordinator in his first year, every time they saw a running quarterback, at least for the first 3 quarters of the year or so, they would bring 4, drop everybody else back into zone, and make the quarterback dink and dunk him down the field. And normally that's exactly what would happen until he would get aggressive in the second half of games. However, that team did not have Micah Parsons. This one does. Last year, obviously, 4.5 sacks, I think it was, against the Commanders in Jaden Daniels. Talk about this offensive line and how good it is.
Yeah, I mean, Micah Parsons, with the Cowboys, I've seen him play this team twice a year as long as he's been in the league, and he has killed Washington, just killed him. And last year, even with Jaden, he was really, really effective. I do think Washington's offensive line is way better. Laramie Tunsil's kind of a household name to football fans at this point. And then on the other side, you got a rookie, first-round pick, Josh Connerly, who played pretty well last week against the Giants. He did have he had a little welcome to the NFL moment against Brian Burns. And Burns isn't Parsons, but Burns is a really good player too. I think Cliff Kingsbury is pretty smart though, and they have one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL in John Bates. So I would expect to see a good amount of help with Bates with Connerly in kind of clear passing situations. Parsons is a problem, man. I mean, everybody knows it and is cognizant of it, and he keeps doing it. So not to say he's going to be blank tonight, but I think you'll see a lot of quick stuff to the outside, something that is a staple of Cliff Kingsbury's offense anyway. I think you'll see plenty of that tonight for Washington.
When we talk about the other side of the ball, now we get to Washington's defense and the Packers offense. We talk with JP Finlay, NBC4 Sports, and 106.7 The Fan in D.C. here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on the Fan here in Milwaukee. The Packers offense is interesting because last year, obviously not a true number one. So every week it was a different leading receiver as they went throughout the year, which I think makes it a little bit more difficult to defend. Now, this year they come out in week one and they run a lot of two tight end sets and really try and focus going that way. And then LaFleur says earlier in the week that, hey, man, it will change week to week based on who we are playing. What is the weakness of this Washington defense?
It's a good question. Last week they were great. I mean, as celebrated as Green Bay's effort was against the Lions, Washington's defense put out a pretty similar effort. Now, they were playing the Giants, and the expectations for that New York team were pretty low, so I don't think people viewed it the same. Their defensive front was nasty last week. The Giants averaged about 2 yards a carry. They signed Javon Kinlaw this offseason, Dietrich Wise, Von Miller. They got a lot bigger, a lot stronger on their defensive front, and I certainly think they hope that carries through tonight. The secondary, Marshawn Lattimore is a veteran in this league. They drafted a kid, Trey Amos, who looked great last week. He was their second-round pick. Not to say they don't have a weakness. Everybody does. But the last week really wasn't much of a challenge, and I think some of that was a byproduct of Russ Wilson and a Giants O-line that was beat up. Their linebackers, Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu, both made all-pro teams last year, but there's not a lot of depth at linebacker. Depth is an issue kind of on the second two levels of the defense. On the front, they can go 8-9 guys, but linebacker and at corner, you when they start to rotate guys in and out as the game continues, especially on a short week, when you get past kind of the starting line, the next group falls down a notch.
See, and that's what I was earlier in the show when we were talking about this. I was like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they went away from the two tight end set and try to spread this thing out with 3 and 4 wide receivers to try to spread Washington out to test those cornerbacks and give more running room for these running backs with 4 spread wide receivers. And I don't know if Washington would be prepared for that or not, but I think that would definitely be a different look than maybe Washington's expecting.
Sure. I mean, when you've got, is it Kraft and Musgrave, right? Like, yeah. I think there are reasons to go with 2 tight ends out there. But because of the depth Green Bay has at wideout and just the amount of guys you could roll out there, certainly 3 wide receiver sets, if not 4. It's going to be interesting because it was a couple of weeks ago, Dan Quinn told us that because of the short week in week 2 and knowing they had, the NFL teams kind of get that little bit of extra time now with the way the schedule is constructed with the 17 regular season games and that 3rd preseason game. And then you kind of get that bonus week. I mean, Washington's been game planning for Green Bay for probably 2-3 weeks. I imagine Green Bay's doing the same thing.
But JP, that's the thing though. Like the history of Matt LaFleur versus Dan Quinn is a big advantage to the Green Bay Packers offense.
Sure. I mean, I'm aware of it. And not to mention LaFleur in primetime has been so good.
Yes.
So there's definitely some things pointing Green Bay's way. I mean, not to mention playing at home in front of what I imagine is going to be a pretty nutso crowd.
JP, do you travel with them week to week?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've had this conversation too. How much really is there a home field advantage in the NFL? Are there stadiums that have true home field advantages at this point?
Yeah, I certainly think there are. Now, it requires the team to be good because, people might check out late in the year. But, I mean, there's going to be some burgundy and gold here tonight for sure. I think the standard NFL is like 80-20 visiting fans. I'd expect that tonight. But the home field advantage stuff can be dude, you guys deal with the Lions. That Ford Field, whether it's engineered to be loud or those guys or that those fans are just that loud, that is a significant home field advantage. Where does it really show up? These guys aren't in college. They're not going to come out of that tunnel and be intimidated to play at Lambeau. I think they'll appreciate the history and the iconic nature. But I don't think there's any intimidation. Like maybe you see college teams going to the Big House or Death Valley or something. But when you get to a big 3rd down late in the game and you're trying to, make an audible or something, I think that stuff matters.
JP, your pick for tonight.
I'm not sure your crowd's going to like it.
That's fine.
I like Washington's chance. I like Washington's chances a lot. I think if you're betting this thing, it's either lay the points with the Packers or take the Washington money line. If it gets late and it's tight, I just like Jaden Daniels with the ball in his hands.
And I would have a hard time arguing against Jaden Daniels with the ball in his hands if it gets late in the game. JP Finlay, NBC4 Sports, 106.7 The Fan in D.C. Follow him on Twitter at JP Finlay, NBCS. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Take care.
Absolutely. Take care. There is JP Finlay on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. If we're being honest, I trust Daniels over Love in an end of game situation. If you told me you had to take one, I think I would take Daniels. Again, I know, you're a Packer fan. I understand. If you're being realistic, you're telling me you wouldn't take Daniels in an end of game situation over Jordan Love? I would.
I mean, we saw him have, what was it, 2 different game-winning drives last season, including the Bears Hail Mary, which really wasn't him doing that. That was the Bears defense basically giving Washington the win.
That was a DB talking to the fans.
Exactly.
Whatever the hell he was doing.
Yep.
Yes.
Just messing around.
Then coming back and tipping the ball when he was told to bat it down.
At the same time, I think just what we saw in Jaden Daniels last season, again, just gives me more hope than what we saw in Jordan Love last season. So, yeah, I believe in him a little bit more right now.
Well, and not only that, but at the end of a game, when it's chaos, right, then I think your legs really become a factor. Because the defenses are pointing and yelling and trying to get everybody in the right spot, a little bit more chaotic. Now there's might be some more miscommunications, guy maybe turning their backs, and now that quarterback can really take advantage of it upfield and say like a 2-minute drill and get those first downs or get themselves out of bounds and stuff like that. And Love to this point, now maybe it changes this year, but Love to this point has not been a running quarterback at all, does not do it. And I think that's an element of his game. If you're saying, what would you like to see change? It would be to see him run the ball more. However, you have to put an asterisk. But I don't want him to get hurt. So that's part of this because he was hurt multiple times last year. Like, you don't want to put him in harm's way by telling him to run more when he hasn't been able to stay healthy anyhow.
No, you don't want to, but also you need him to step up at some point here. And in a game like this, where you're going to be going against another really tough opponent after last week should have been a tough opponent, I think this is a moment for Jordan Love to prove that he can have those plays where he'll run when it counts, when he'll step up and be that leader on the field and show it on the field. This feels like a perfect opportunity for him to do that tonight against another very young team that has a lot of promise.
Yeah, no question about that. I have a question here from Q in the Dugout YouTube chat. Go ahead, Charlie. What do you got in the YouTube chat from Q?
Who has better supporting players on offense, Jordan Love or Jaden Daniels?
I think, obviously, Deebo Samuel is a name. Austin Eckler is a name.
Terry McLaurin
is a name.
Zach Ertz.
Right, those are all names. But Ertz is older. Deebo's older. Eckler's older. McLaurin's still a bad man. Scary Terry for a reason. Like, absolutely can change the game by himself. So not putting down Terry McLaurin. If it was me, I'd rather have the Packers supporting cast, if we're being honest. I'd rather have Tucker Kraft over Zach Ertz every day of the week. And then the Deebo Samuel thing is different because he's really kind of a hybrid back, wide receiver, tight end.
Compare him to Jaden Daniels.
Because of his size, Deebo is different.
But Jaden Daniels Jaden Reed, last season, Packers used him in kind of that hybrid roll out of the backfield a little bit.
Deebo's more of a physical. His legs are like tree trunks.
Physically, yes, he's different.
Yeah, he's different.
But I just mean the type of role that he plays.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, from that aspect, I think I'd rather take the younger players that the Packers have. I definitely would rather have Josh Jacobs than what they have at running back, even though they've got that rookie. That's really good.
Q says even at the end of a game.
Well, no, at the end of the game, then you like your vets more, right? But again, it goes back to the quarterback Q, though. So, if Jaden Daniels is with these cats, I want these guys. If Jaden Daniels is with those guys, I want those guys. To me, it doesn't matter who the supporting cast is. I want the better quarterback. The better quarterback is going to make this work with whoever they have. Now, I know you can say, yeah, Sparky, Packers had a lot of drops last year. Yeah, you're right. They did. And maybe they would drop balls from Jaden Daniels too. Who knows? I have no idea. All I'm saying is late game situation within the last 2 minutes, 90 seconds. Who's got the better supporting cast? Yes, you want the vets. But the bigger part of that is who's the better quarterback? And if they're equal, then okay, then we'll talk about I'd rather have the vets. But in this case, I don't think they're equal. I think Daniels is a better player in the end of game situation. Could that change? Sure. You're talking to the guy that was all over Aaron Rodgers his first year starting and yelling and screaming that he can't close a game. He can't close a game. This is a problem. He better figure it out. And that was a thing for the longest of times of doing that. And if you go back and look at Rodgers' career, I hate to do this to y'all, but outside the Hail Mary passes, how many of those moments does he really have? It's not like Favre and Elway and these guys that got moments, plural, where they're winning games. It's a lot of, well, if the defense would have held, they would have won. Well, if the defense would have held, they would have won. Okay, but I didn't have that with Brett. We weren't saying that crap with Brett. Elway didn't have a defense for the first how many years of his career? We weren't saying that necessarily there. So, again, and he had some players like Karl Mecklenburg and some of those guys, sure. But again, so I don't know what Jordan Love is going to look like in end-of-game situations throughout his career. We will have to wait and see. But the legs element is what makes me pick Jaden Daniels in this situation.
I don't think you remember as many of those Aaron Rodgers Hail Marys as you do if he were to actually be as clutch as Brett Favre or one of these other players. I think some of the biggest moments you remember.
He hit 3 of them. Nobody else, I don't think, has hit 3 of them.
I know. I get it. But also, again, if he has more memorable end-of-game drives, I think sometimes those get remembered more so than this.
Sure.
I think when I think about the third Hail Mary, the one against Arizona, I also remember Larry Fitzgerald at the end of that game a lot more than I even remember the Packers Hail Mary that led to that moment. So I think there's a lot of things that if he were to have more memorable moments like that, you wouldn't remember those Hail Marys as much.
Charlie using C Sparky Fifer over here. Coming up on the other side, we're going to talk about the Packers schedule and what it looks like after this. Because, folks, there is a big hole of one certain variety in the next 5 games that I don't think anybody's really talking about. We'll get to that coming up on the other side of a quick timeout. Tim Dillard, FanDuel Sports Network, Wisconsin Brewers analyst, joins us at 3:20. Got to get some Brewers baseball in here after all. Charlie Sounds today coming up at 3:40. Don't forget Potawatomi Sportsbook. Speaking of the Brewers, they got your shuttles to and from every home game the rest of the way out, including the playoffs. All you have to do is go to potawatomi.com/sportsbook for more details. But again, same game day wager will get you on their shuttle or a purchase at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Got that beautiful Potawatomi Sportsbook kitchen, 48 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails, all-day brunch, burgers, wraps, wings, salads, you name it, they got it, including homemade desserts and pastries. So a purchase, and you're on the shuttle. Shuttles leave within 1 hour of the game starting and end 1 hour after the game ending. And there's several shuttles going back and forth. You park for free in their parking garage, and it's covered, beautiful in case there's bad weather, and you're off to the races. Again, more details for the shuttle to and from Brewers games from the Potawatomi Hotel Casino. Go to potawatomi.com/sportsbook. potawatomi.com/sportsbook. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here.